Hi and welcome back. If you have been here for a little while, you know that I have been using and loving a device called the Oralift. I have made quite a few videos on this little guy. I will link them all down below. This is one of the few at-home devices I have seen a huge difference with. And I know many of you have bought this device on my recommendation, especially in the last Black Friday sale. I also know that quite a few of you have questions about this device. So I invited Dr. Mohindra, the creator of the Oralift, back on this channel to answer all of your questions. Thank you so much for being with us again, Dr. Mohindra.
It's always a pleasure, Claudia. Always a pleasure.
Dr. Mohindra, quite a few people have bought the Oralift on my recommendation. And one feedback I get very frequently is that there's a bit of intimidation around the fitting process. So what can we tell these people about the fitting process? How can we sort of ease their anxiety?
The first thing is we've had this problem quite a lot, and we've got a Facebook group, and a lot of people have mentioned this there as well. So we are now offering a Zoom support. So once you've done your onboarding and you think you haven't done it right, the appliance doesn't look right to you, you can join the Zoom support. Also, if you could send us pictures of the appliance, we can look at the appliance and tell you if it's beyond repair. If by any chance you've had the Zoom support and Sue finds that the appliances are beyond repair, they can't be mended, don't worry, we'll send replacements as well free. I think one of the most problematic areas are the thermoplastic material, which doesn't grip the teeth like a dental appliance does. So people get worried, oh, this isn't fitting very well, it's loose. But remember, it's the two blocks that are the important bit. The thermoplastic material is a bit superfluous, really. It's just to try and keep it in your mouth over the teeth. But really, it's the blocks that do the work. And as long as you remember that, I don't think you can go wrong.
Okay, that's great to know. So it doesn't really matter. Does it fit in front of the teeth, behind the teeth? Is it standing up a little bit in the back? As long as the blocks are fine.
We used to have it just like a mouth guard without that bit cut away in the front. And what would happen is a lot of the thermoplastic material would go in front of your front teeth, and your lip would look really very odd, you know? So to make it look a little bit better, we cut away that bit and said you should just have it behind your teeth. But it doesn't really matter if it goes on top of your bottom teeth or a little bit over them. The thermoplastic material is not the important bit, it's the blocks.
Okay, that's great to know. Now I have mine right here, and it does look gross because it has been in my mouth quite a bit, but I will show really quickly how mine fits. And I was very worried that I messed it up too, but I've gotten great results with it. So this is how it fits. It does fit behind the teeth, and then there are the blocks.
Yeah. But if it does go a little bit in front, it's okay.
Yeah. So even though I thought I had messed this up when I first molded it, I've had great results with it. And like you said, really not much can go wrong. But it does seem a bit intimidating at first, I have to admit.
Oh, so yeah. You know, it is, because you want to get the best results that you can. And you don't want to spoil it right at the beginning, you know.
The next question I have, are there any consequences using the Oralift incorrectly?
The most important thing with the Oralift is when you do the initial onboarding, which the app takes you through, you fit the appliances, and then you do your initial touch tests, the 5mm first and then the 3mm. These two tests are very important, and they should be done together. The reason why they're important is because they check the state of your facial muscles. Now, some people have facial muscles that are very, very tense through clenching and grinding. Now, they will find that they have to start with very short times, 1 minute or 2 minutes only at a time. It doesn't mean that they won't get the good results. In a way, sometimes we find that people who've got very, very tense, strained muscles are the ones who give very good results with very little bit of wearing of the appliance. So in a way, yes, wearing it for very short periods can be very effective.
That's great to know. That answers another question I got, which was, can you get good results using it only 20 minutes a day rather than an hour twice a day?
You can, but at the same time, 20 minutes, if your muscles are too strained, will give you signs of overuse, and that will not give you good results. So wearing it more isn't always the right answer. Sometimes, depending on the state of your facial muscles, wearing it less can give you very good results. The program we have given is not a fixed program that suits everyone. And what we say is, if you are going to do things differently from the program, that's not a bad thing, because you've got to make it fit your lifestyle. But if you are, just make sure you monitor yourself. Take photographs regularly, because that helps to motivate you when you can see your results.
You know, the whole idea of overuse was something that was a bit difficult for me to understand. And then I had to think about it in terms of the body, right? So I'm a personal trainer, and then it made sense to me. If I try to stretch a muscle that is very, very tight, the muscle is going to have a reflex and tighten up even more. So when I thought about it that way, it made sense to me that if I'm trying like crazy to force my face to relax with this, and it's just not ready for it, it's going to tighten up even more. So I think that's something that we then can see as, and that's what we consider overuse, is when we now get results that are actually worse than what we saw before. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is true. You know, it's natural to think, I've got this thing, and if I use it more, I'll get even better results. You know, and that's a normal thing. It's like exercise. If you do more exercise, you'll build up your muscles faster. But as you're saying, it's not always the case.
Another question I got is, can the Oralift be used during pregnancy?
I don't see any reason why it shouldn't, because it's your body, again, that's working for you. And I don't see why not. I haven't had any reasons to say, no, you shouldn't.
You will have a very relaxed baby.
Yeah, probably that is true.
The person who asked about the 20 minutes a day, there was a second part to the question, and that was, if you're wearing it for shorter amounts of time, is the period of wear time still 4 months, or do you then have a longer wear time?
The 4-month period we chose because if you've got tense muscles, it may take them quite a while to get them completely relaxed. But 4 months should be enough. And 4 months should also be enough to help you stop your parafunctional habits. So continuing beyond that period, I don't think is really going to be very useful, because remember, we are introducing micro trauma into the muscles, and you've got to let these muscles heal. And what we have found is that during the rest period, some people get their best results because they may have overdone it in the first 4 months. And then the rest period, when the healing is still continuing, that's when you see the best results. So I would definitely not try and use it for more than 4 months.
What do you mean by parafunctional?
Okay, there are 2 factors that can affect the use of Oralift. One is, if we have habits where we clench our teeth and grind our teeth, that is parafunctional. The other thing that can not give us good results is if you're going through a lot of stress. But again, this applies together with meditation or things, relaxation techniques will help to relax your muscles. So, but the 2 factors, the parafunctional, clenching, grinding, and stress, are the 2 things that can not give you as good results as we would like.
Since we're talking about that, another question I got was, one lady said that she feels that when she wears the device, her clenching is non-existent, but as soon as she takes it out, she feels it is worse. And is there anything you can tell her how she could train herself not to clench? I know for myself, and this is what I told her, I started using the Oralift in the beginning when I meditated. And I think my brain sort of got the message, this is relaxation time, so also relax your jaw. And once I started doing that, then I stopped clenching, which was incredible. But it did take me quite a while to actually get there, because I was a lifelong clencher.
I think the most important thing is to keep a record of, during the daytime, when your teeth touch or when you clench. If we can stop both these habits, Clenching, yes. Touching, well, our teeth don't need to touch for normal function. You know, when we eat, teeth don't touch. They chew the food, but before any contact occurs between teeth, there's a mechanism that separates them. When we swallow, we shouldn't have to touch our teeth. A relaxed swallow with the tip behind your two front teeth doesn't have any contact between teeth. So tooth contact is not necessary. And if these two things you can stop during daytime, no clenching, teeth not touching, then even if you've got nighttime clenching, the trigger that we have set up that says teeth don't need to touch will waken you up. But that trigger needs to be very strong. And that trigger will be strong only if you want it to be strong. Because there are other triggers that are in your brain that will come in and try to fight that trigger. That's what stress does. You know, it causes, there are all sorts of things that can cause stress. There's a user who's just going through a divorce. That's causing her a lot of stress. So in the nighttime when she's sleeping, probably she's thinking about something, dreaming about something, and that'll start her clenching in the nighttime. Now, in her case, the trigger that says your teeth don't touch has to be really strong. And once that has been achieved, and she's getting very good results.
I think clenching is a really difficult one. I know for myself, it was a mechanism sort of like when my dog is afraid her tail goes under. So every time I had some sort of something anxious or stress, I would clench my teeth. And even still now, even though I don't clench anymore, I can tell that my brain wants to do that right away when I'm stressed. So I think that's a really tough one. But for me, wearing the Oralift I would say it took about 3 months, and then I stopped clenching, and it's made a huge difference for my dental health. But I do think it's a tough one because it is such a lifelong habit and something that's so ingrained in us. So that, like you said, there has to really be that awareness, and every time catching yourself when that happens and going, wait, I don't need to do that anymore. You would say to this particular viewer that it will happen. She will stop clenching. It might just take some time because it is such a lifelong habit, right?
That's right. That trigger that we're trying to set up has got to be very strong, you know? It has to be very strong before it'll override all the other triggers that are encouraging you to clench.
Along those lines, another viewer said, and I think this is also a common problem, is that she gets very achy oftentimes in the jaw and temples because of tension. So she's wondering, how can she help her jaw to relax? Can the device help relax the jaw? And should she be wearing the device on those days where she already feels achy? Would that help, or would it make it worse?
If you've got muscles that are already aching, you've got to go very slowly with the appliance. When you do your initial touch test, some people find after 30 seconds, they've got to take the appliances out. So your starting time has got to be less than 30 seconds or just 30 seconds. Now, if you stick to that rule, you will be okay. Don't try to increase that amount till you feel comfortable. And if you feel it's starting to even slightly make your situation worse, that is too much. So if you've got achy muscles to start with, and you put the appliance in, and you can only keep it in for 10 seconds before they start to ache even more, then your starting point should only be 10 seconds. And then gradually over time, you should be okay. The worst that I've come across with in my own experience, and I've been using Oralift now with patients for over 20 years, was one of my nurses. She found she couldn't keep it in for more than 40 seconds. And that was the maximum she could keep it in to start with. And after a couple of months, she found she was still only increasing it very little, very gradually. But she was such a stressed person, and she wasn't controlling anything else. She just was under the, oh, this appliance is not going to help me with all my other problems, you know. What can this bit of plastic do? This bit of plastic will do nothing for a person who doesn't want to help themselves, right? So this bit of plastic only works with your own body and your own ability. It's because it's not the Oralift that is doing the work, it is your own body. And if you don't believe in Oralift, what's the point? Don't waste your money. Try whatever else you want to try. But Oralift, we know, can change the physiology within seconds of wearing it. It can change the structure of your face. We've seen that in the shape of the face. You know how it can take your face to a more youthful, golden proportioned face. So it can do a lot of things, but you have to also believe that your body can help you.
I know for myself, when I first started using it, I could not wear it more. I think it was about 30 seconds. My whole face started shaking because my face was so tight and it started to hurt. So I had to also start very slowly, which was very frustrating for me because that's not how I start things. I don't like to start things slowly. But so I know I had that same thing. I had the tension. My jaw clicked constantly before using the Oralift. I had a very tight jaw. So I started very slowly. I started with 30 seconds, then a minute, then 2 minutes. I worked my way up. Now I can wear it for a couple of hours and it actually relaxes me when I wear it. Versus before it wasn't relaxing because I was so tight. So I would say to this viewer, definitely it can help relax the jaw, but it takes time, correct?
That's right. That's right.
Another question was if we wear the Oralift for the rest of our life. So we wear it for 4 months, then we take a break, then we wear it again for 2 months. So this person wants to know if we wear it for the rest of our life, are the results going to continue? In other words, are we just going to look younger and younger? Or is after the 4 months, the results, is that sort of what we're getting and then that's it?
I don't think they'll keep on getting younger and younger. But what it will do is, I think there's a movement nowadays about pro-aging, and what we'll do is at whatever age you are, you're going to be looking very good for your age. And that's what it'll do. So I think we get some improvement or a lot of improvement to start with. And then as you age chronologically, this will keep you looking good for your age for the rest of your life. That's the aim, really. I don't think it's at 77, I'm never going to look like a 22-year-old,
Yes.
But hopefully for 77, I probably look okay.
Are you 77?
Yes.
No.
That's right.
I had no idea you were 77. That's incredible.
I've retired now from dental practice, and I retired when I was about 65. So that's nearly 10 years ago, over 10 years.
Your face is so useful. I mean, you are the perfect advertising for the Oralift, definitely.
Thank you. Thank you. I know it works, and that's why I'm so passionate about it,
Yeah, I definitely know it works. And I tell you, even it definitely brought my face back to more useful proportions. My face was getting very square. But even if I wouldn't have any of the superficial benefits, just that I'm not grinding and clenching my teeth anymore has made such a huge difference for the health of my teeth, but also for my overall well-being, that even just for that, I would use it for the rest of my life. But the external benefits, of course, are lovely as well.
Some people get worried that they must stop clenching. Obviously, if it can help you to do that, it's good. But there are many people who do clench a little, and it's not doing them as much damage as in some cases. Look, it's going to work at certain level for everyone. Because as soon as you put the appliance in the mouth, your physiology is going to change. The process of adaptation is going to kick in. So at some level, it's always going to work. So I think the important thing is not to get stressed over, am I doing it right? Am I doing it wrong? Have I done it too much? Don't worry, it'll happen. Things sort themselves out. It's our own body.
Otherwise, you clench more if you worry so much about it.
Exactly, yes.
Now, talking about the superficial benefits, I've gotten this question quite a bit because as we age, we women, we are very worried about our face getting too thin looking. So because it brings us back to the golden proportion, meaning it brings us back to that triangle of youth, some women are worried that that would thin out their face too much. So I have gotten that question frequently. Is it going to make my face thinner?
I think one of the people that you introduced to Oralift was Jodie Lynn. And Jodie Lynn had a thin, long face. And if you look at her, now her cheeks have lifted up. So really, what aging is doing is migrating everything, soft tissues downwards. And as we deprogram the muscles, they'll move upwards. So if your face has become square and quite roundish through clenching and aging, and there's migration of the soft tissue, yes, it'll make your face look a bit thinner because you're getting the triangle of youth back. But that doesn't necessarily mean you look worse. It's because it's looking more youthful. So if by any chance you are overusing the appliance and you're not happy with the way your face is looking, all I say is use it less. Don't have to use it as much. The physiology of adaptation starts to happen within minutes of starting to use the Oralift. So don't worry. If you think you're getting a long face and you don't want that shape of the face, go slowly. It's a lifetime process. Just do it slowly.
Another viewer is worried about, she just got veneers on her bottom teeth, and she's worried, could the Oralift possibly push out her veneers or push her veneers forward? Could it cause any damage to the veneers?
Not if she follows the rules and she doesn't clench on the blocks. If she clenches on the blocks, then you'll get some pressure being put on your teeth, and that could have an effect, but not if you don't clench on your teeth. The thermoplastic material is very soft material. It's going to do no damage at all to your teeth.
Another question I got, Dr. Mohindra, was, can the Oralift, aside from affecting our face and neck, can it also affect other things such as our organs, our digestive system, things such as PMS?
I think that's a very difficult question. Over the 20 years that I've been using Oralift, I've only observed the effects on the face. To be able to make any other claims, you need to do a lot more research into how the adaptive process works. And people have reported all sorts of things, but these could be just placebo effects. The fact that they believe it is helping them, that makes it work for them. But before we can answer anything like that, we really, really need to do a lot more research and then see what is possible and what isn't possible.
Let's get back to the fitting really fast. Yes. Another question I get about fitting often is, why do we fit the 5mm device before we fit the 3mm device? Even though when we start wearing the device, we start with the 3mm for 2 months and then go to the 5mm.
The thinking behind this was to check the state of your facial muscles. As I said, some people can wear the 5mm device straight away. They don't have to start with the 3 and be fine with it. So this way we can test which is best suited to you. The other reason why we started with the 5 first was, when you wear the 5, your muscles start to deprogram and your jaw starts to relax into a new position straight away, instantaneously. So once you've done the 5mm touch test and then you do the 3mm, the 3mm feels a lot easier. And people, when they realize that 3mm is so much easier to wear, they say, I think I'll be able to cope with this. But if we just give them one appliance, they put the 3 in, and some people would say, this is too difficult, I can't wear it. So in a way, we are fooling the brain and into accepting something that it normally wouldn't.
We've already talked a little bit about the flexibility of the program. You obviously have a written program, but that is quite flexible, as you mentioned, and I didn't quite follow the program either and had great results.
Yeah.
As far as the 4 months, so we know that the program is flexible, and you can talk a little bit more about that, but as far as the 4 months, must one stop after 4 months if they're still clenching, or if they're still not seeing the results they want to see, or if they just want to continue? Is the 4 months written in stone? Can one continue after 4 months? Talk a little bit more about that, please.
I never say anything in black and white that you must do this, you mustn't do that. There's always a possibility that we'll find more answers. But my personal belief is that, yes, after 4 months, you must stop. Why? If you haven't learned not to stop clenching in 4 months, another 2 months or another 3 months is not going to help you. Because if we can't set up a trigger in the 4 months of you using the Oralift, what are the chances of setting up that trigger in another 2 months or 3 months? Not very much. Also, our body then gets used to this idea of having this appliance every so often, and it becomes a habit. The process of adaptation, I don't think kicks in as well if something's become a habit. If anything, I would make those rest periods even longer. The rest periods, once healing starts through the microtrauma that has occurred, the healing can continue up to 10 months afterwards. So people have asked me, why don't you make the rest period 10 months? Because you've introduced microtrauma, that's going to start the healing process. The healing is going to continue for up to 10 months. Why not? And I haven't been able to answer that. Because if you do stop for 10 months, just monitor yourself. If stress and clenching and whatnot are making your face worse, then perhaps 10 months is too long for you. 4 months is too long for you. Perhaps after 3 months, you may want to start using the appliance again.
Now, I just want to address two things. When you say microtrauma, I don't want to scare people when microtrauma sounds a bit dramatic, but microtrauma is also what we create when we exercise. When we want to see change, we have to create a bit of microtrauma. So it's not a negative thing.
No. Yeah.
The second thing I wanted to address, for me personally, I do find the 4 months rest period too long, because I find that after about 3 months, my face starts to tighten up again. And then I start using the Oralift again, and it takes a couple of days. And those couple of days feel like, oh, this is difficult again. And then I'm right back to relaxing. So I have made my rest period a little bit shorter than 4 months, and that seems to work for me. But for some people, like you said, they might make it longer. So it's quite personal. You have to just play around with it, is what I hear you say.
Exactly. I think monitor yourself, and you will know what is best for you.
Let's address the before and after pictures really quickly. So the device comes with an app, which is great. I am not much of an app person. In fact, I have other devices that have apps and I don't use them because I find them annoying. But I find this app quite practical because you can take before and after pictures, and these before and after pictures tell a lot. But I have been accused of the before and after pictures being photoshopped. Some people said, well, the lighting is obviously off. So what we have to say that the before and after pictures you show on your website and I show, they're not done by professional photographers. We take these on our phone at home. There is a little cutout in the app where you put your face, but I have to say it's not that easy to actually get that quite right. But obviously they're not Photoshop or anything. These are just people like you and I and my viewers who are taking these pictures on the app, which is quite helpful.
That's right. The photographs are on your phone. And when we show these photographs, we don't touch them up or do anything. And I think there's an American who was saying that we are so fed up of seeing before and after pictures. No one really believes in before and after pictures anymore nowadays because so many are photoshopped. But these are real ones, you know.
This was great, Dr. Mohindra. Thank you so much for coming on and answering all these questions. So I think to summarize it, the most frequently asked question I get is about the fitting process, and we answer that from the start. Don't worry so much about it. It is not as intimidating as it seems to be. And if you really mess it up, you can get a replacement device, which is great.
That's right.
Thank you so much for being here.
Okay, you're welcome.
I hope this was helpful. Any more questions for myself or Dr. Mohindra, please leave them down below. Any comments, of course, leave them down below. You know, I always love to hear from you. If you use the Oralift, please share your experience down below. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, bye.